Hi, Sinead. It's lovely to speak with you today. Thank you so much for giving up a bit of your morning to talk to me. Please, can you introduce yourself briefly?
Yeah, that's great. And hi, Sophie. Great to meet you. I'm Sinead Butters, and I'm Chief Exec of Aspire Housing based in North Staffordshire.
Lovely, that's perfect. I'll jump straight into the questions now. So, number one is what would you say has been your most career defining moment that you're most proud of?
I think, obviously you've shared with me this question a bit in advance, and it was quite a difficult one to answer, not because there's been so much, but because it's not always the obvious things, it's not always awards and accolades and stuff. So for me, I think that the biggest career defining moment would be the 23rd of June 2006. And that is the day upon which I was told I was successful in my application for the Chief Executive of Aspire. And I would say that that has been a pivot point in my life, both from a sort of learning point and the things that I've learned as chief exec along the way, the people I've met, the opportunities I've had, the experiences I've had, the way I've grown as a person, but also the responsibility that came with that and how that felt like quite a heavy coat, I think, at times.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'd like to get off, but you don't because it's your job to lead. So career defining moment, 23rd of June 2006.
Brilliant. It's very specific. So the next question is, do you think workplaces should be doing more, generally speaking, to encourage slash guide women into management roles?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, going back to that last question, I think that one of the reasons that was a career defining moment for me was that I had been in Aspire. I was in the regulator first and I joined in 2000. And I had a couple of director roles in the organisation. And at that point, I was the only female director. And when I applied for the chief exec role, I'd only had 5 months of leading a team of over 300 people. Prior to that, I was running a team of about 15. So my chair at the time, Jane Price, she actually backed me for the job in the end. When they chose me, I was successful, but it was almost against the odds. So it's almost like, what more can you do? Where you can push people to get out their comfort zone, you can help and challenge people to, I don't know, to take on stretching activities and secondments, and I don't know, help people to believe in themselves because you believe in them.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. That brings us well on to the next question, actually. So, the next one is, what workplace initiatives do you believe are most important to promote equality and diversity?
Well, first of all, I think if you I'll come back to the initiatives question. I'd like to answer a culture question because I think it's incumbent upon the chief exec and the board and the senior team and everyone within the planet, the like microcosm that is for us Aspire, to be aware of equality and diversity. And I know that sounds a bit trite, but what I mean is that how does it feel working in that organisation? How do you treat others? How are you treated? And I think that culture is the main, like if you've got a number of activities, but your culture's not right, your activities aren't going to stick or work. So I think there's a big cultural piece about inclusion, inclusivity, engagement, respect for everyone, whatever genre you work in or whatever diversity you might bring. You need to be treated with respect, and therefore I think the culture piece overrides everything. And then secondly, I think it's about activities that help people to, I think, grow and stretch themselves and engage. So one of the things we've started is a sort of like a talent program. So we're identifying talent in the organisation to be able to help talent, if you like, in people do different things to test themselves, because often you don't know what you're capable of until you do it, and then you surprise yourself. And if you are lacking a little bit of confidence or a bit fearful of change, then that doesn't mean you shouldn't be a leader in the future. It means that somebody needs to put their arm around you and say, come on, give it a go, take that chance, challenge yourself. And there's a soft landing if it doesn't work. You know, we have to say that it's not like you put all your money on black and red and it turns up black. You know, it's not a gamble where you have to put your career on bet your career. It's actually something where you're doing it in a supportive environment where we incubate talent, and that is what I think Aspire is trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Just people supporting each other is just so
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
So what would you say are the main obstacles women in particular can face at work?
Well, I thought this, and I thought the first one is, I think, get yourself out the way, because that sounds a bit weird. But what I mean, I didn't mean this. This sounds a bit strange, but I think that sometimes we're our own obstacle. So I'll come back to that. But actually, in terms of the issues that we face as women, in terms of when we, if we want children, for instance, we want to spend. I know there's more opportunity for shared childcare and more opportunity for shared paternity, maternity, but generally that isn't the case in a lot of organisations, or it's actually not the wish of the couple that the woman might want to be at home more. And I get that, and I think that it's allowing that kind of flexibility and being able to have flexible working patterns and support talent, because at the end of the day it's talent, and there might be breaks in those learnings because of home demands, and that's all right. I think we should be encouraging more home support and home working for males and females. I think we should even up the fact that it's often seen as the female who's doing all kind of like these COVID lessons. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, and I don't want to sound sexist to men, because that's not fair, but it's incumbent upon, I think, businesses like ours all businesses, but particularly like ours, where social value, social purpose and sort of fairness is important, that we ensure that there's opportunities for all sexes to do that, and that it doesn't get in the way of the career. So then in terms of kind of the way in which I think we as women need to be more confident if we can, and I think that we do get in our own way sometimes, and you hear about imposter syndrome. We've all got it or had it. I think men can have that too, and I think certainly younger people, it can be an issue for younger people in particular, especially if they succeed quite quickly in their career and then they think, oh God, how did I get here, and I'm going to mess up. And I think that's, I used to work in the regulator, and I remember, being given sort of access to the mainframe computer, all ran from London, and I was inputting data when I was like my mid to late 20s, and the whole blooming system went down. And I knew, that, and if you did that, you had to ring headquarters and say, look, I've pressed this button and the whole system's gone down, and it was your fault, and it used to fill me with dread that I would just make the wrong keystroke, and suddenly the whole of the computer system in the regulator nationally would be not working because of me. And I look on that now and think it's hilarious, because but it's all right now for me to think that, but that is a real feeling. And I think that it's about confidence, and confidence happens through taking yourself slightly out your comfort zone and seeing you can do it, or making the mistake and knowing that you're not gonna, it's not been career defining for you, the mistake, and that you're in a supportive environment. So we have to look after ourselves a bit better, I think, as women and as people, to help us be the confident person that we know we can be.
Yeah, completely agree with that. So what advice would you give to your younger self just starting out in your career?
Well, again, I thought about this and thought one of the things that I am better at now, which I wasn't so good at then. Well, first of all, it's having a view, having an opinion, and being confident in my opinion. But have a view. Don't just be a passenger in life. In work, if you want a career, you've got to be shaping that for yourself, and you've got to have passion about what actually gets you going. Understand that, and take the opportunities to shape things, to try. And the reason I feel like Leonard Rossiter, you're too young for this, but in I can't even remember the name of the sitcom, but it used to, there was a manager in there who said, I didn't get where I am today without being great at so and so. I was going to say I didn't get where I am today without sort of knowing that. I think that kind of idea of sort of knowing what you are about as an individual, what you care for, what you stand for, is important. And if you don't know, you're probably not in the right job, or you haven't found the right place, because that passion, I only got to where I am today, going back to Leonard Rossiter, was because I was impatient to see things different, and I didn't have the power to make them different. And I think that, knowing that I wanted to see something better in the business, but my job wasn't to do that. My job was to do something else. So because I wanted to see that different and better, then I took the next opportunity, and then I realized that I wanted to see more different and better. So I took the next opportunity, and then again, and then eventually, then I have got responsibility to make it. And what's then interesting is it's not all about your view anyway. It's about everyone. You only realize that when you get there. It's about the team. It's about our customers. It's about, for us, our learners. It's about creating a temperature on the Aspire planet that helps everyone be brilliant, not just you, because if you're just brilliant, then you'll still fail. So I think it's a complex thing, but I think that idea of having a view, finding out what you're passionate about, and I think would finally say, do not apologise for that view. How many times, and if this is the one big, like if you want to distill this down to one nugget, the one nugget I'd say is, before you speak in a meeting, do not apologise. I know lots of people do it, particularly women. Say, I'm sorry if I misunderstood this. Apologies if I've got this wrong. Apologies if you've already covered this. No, this is my opinion, and make yourself not do that. That's what I would say.
That's such good advice. I think I'm guilty of doing that quite a lot, so I get that.
Too nice, you see. We're too nice. We don't want
Yeah.
to offend. We want everybody to think good of us, and therefore we think if we start like that, all it does is give our power away.
Yeah,
Before
yeah,
we've even started, we've given our power away.
So my last question for you is, have you experienced any bias during your career? And if so, how did you overcome it?
Yes, I have. I mean, when I was a VAT officer, I used to go out to different businesses, and I remember going to a shop to look at the books and records, and I asked for their records. They leant over the sweet counter to give me the records, and then went like that to my cheek. And other stories. I once went to a scrap metal dealer and asked to use the bathroom, and they gave me a bucket. And so I have had those sort of experiences, and I think you just have to carry on and put it out. Obviously you challenge where you can. Honestly, I wasn't in the place where I felt like I could, and that's the problem, isn't it? Is that we don't feel like we can because we don't want to offend, because we're this nice person who apologises before we speak. So I think it's about calling it actually where we can, or telling others how that made you feel, or I don't know, being transparent, because at the very least, if you share that with other people who experience that, and if women in particular, experience that, then at least then you can build your strength together to be able to challenge it. But actually, it is very, very difficult to challenge.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for making time to do this little interview. It's been absolutely lovely getting the chance to talk to you, and really interesting to hear about your experience in the workplace.